In today's video, we're going to be creating the home page for the desktop layout for our pet care website. So I'm just going to scroll down the page so that you can see it. And yeah, if you want to watch the other parts of this course or you want to get the link to the course playlist, check out the link in the description box below. Alright, let's get started. To begin creating our desktop wireframe, we're going to create a copy of this page. If you are using the free version of Figma and have limited amount of projects or pages to create, you can do this part next. So all you have to do is select these and create copies on this side and then create your web pages on this side of the page. But I like to use different pages to keep different sections of the project separate. So I'm going to right click on this page, duplicate page. I'm going to select page 1 and I'm going to rename that moodboard and wireframe. And then go back to page 2, double click page 2, and then I'm going to rename this all web pages. I'm going to select the moodboard, delete it, select these placeholders and also delete as well. And we're going to focus in on the deck. We're going to start with the desktop first. Now we're going to also need a style guide, so I'm just going to go ahead and grab my style guide and come back. Okay, so I have my desktop style guide for this project. I'm going to go through each one of them one by one so I can see it in the video. But if you miss any one, whether it's the typography of our text or it is the colors, don't worry, all of these details will be in the description box below. I'm going to get closer. I'm going to select this one. So I don't even want to try to even pronounce this. Probably it looks kind of easy, but I feel like by the time I say it over and over again, it's going to get tiring. So I'm not even going to try to pronounce this text, this font's name. So I'll just say Auto. So when I'm talking about Auto, is it Auto? I don't know, I'll just use Auto. I don't even want to try. That's the font's name right on the screen. It's also going to be in the description box below, but for the sake of this video, I'm just going to say Auto. So the font name is Auto. Weight is regular, size is 64, line height is 72, and letter spacing is 0px. What you're going to do is save this typography settings with this naming convention, so that we'll be able to you'll be able to follow along as I'm changing typography or setting typography for certain text. Next is Auto. Weight is regular, that's pet care desktop heading. So the first one is pet care desktop hero, second is pet care desktop heading. Font name is Auto, weight is regular, size is 48, line height is 56, and letter spacing is 0px. Then pet care desktop subheading 1. The font name is Auto, weight is regular, size is 44, line height is 52, letter spacing is 0px. Next is pet care desktop subheading 2. Font name is Auto, weight is regular, size is 32, line height is 40, letter spacing is 0px. You can pause the video and just check the settings, as you don't even need to wait for me to say it. You just need to kind of pause the video, but I'll just go through it. Next up, let me get closer. Next is pet care desktop medium heading. The font name is Auto, weight is regular, size is 20, line height is 28, letter spacing 0.25px. Next is pet care logo. This is not going to have a distinction of desktop, tablet or mobile. We're going to use the same size across all projects, and I'm not going to change it. The font name, this one I think I'll be able to get pronunciation, is Modak, and the weight is regular, size is 32, line height is 40, and the letter spacing is 0px. Next is pet care desktop blog. Font name is Nunito, weight is regular, size is 14, line height is 20, letter spacing 0.25px. Next we have pet care desktop blog date. The Font name is Nunito. The weight is regular, size is 12, line height is 16, letter spacing is 0px. Next is Pet Care Desktop Header, and the font is Nunito. Weight is regular, size is 18, line height is 24, letter spacing is 0px. Next is Pet Care Desktop Body. Font name is Nunito. Weight is regular, size is 18, line height is 24, letter spacing 0.25px. Next is Pet Care Desktop Button. Font name is Nunito. Weight is regular, size is 16, line height is 24, letter spacing 0px. Next is Pet Care Desktop Subscribe Button. Font name is Nunito. Weight is regular, size is 18, line height is 24, letter spacing is 0.25px. Next we have Pet Care Desktop Footer 1. The font name is Auto. Well, not really. Weight is regular, size is 24, line height is 32, letter spacing 0px. Next we have Pet Care Desktop Footer Heading. I know it's a mouthful. The font name is Auto. Weight is regular, size is 18, line height is 24, and the letter spacing 0.5px. Finally, we have Pet Care Desktop Footer Body, yet another mouthful. The font name is Nunito. Weight is regular, size is 13, line height is 16, and letter spacing 0.4px. Once again, we're going to save it using this convention so that we can properly assign the proper typography to our text where it's needed. Next up, we have our colors. I'm going to come here. So we have Pet Care background. This is the code I'm just going to show you. We have Pet Care fonts. You save all of this. This is the code for Pet Care fonts. We have Pet Care orange. This is the code. Pet Care purple. This is the code. Pet Care red, save it like this. Pet Care green, this. Pet Care gray, Pet Care paw prints, Pet Care border. So these two are the same. The difference is the opacity. So this border, you're just going to change the opacity of this text to this how will I explain it, this color to 30%. So when you change the fill, set the opacity to 30% and then save it as a color on its own, a color style on its own. So I'm just going to save one typography and one color style so you can see how to do it, and then you can go ahead and save all of these items using this naming convention I've provided. Let's go back to the top, and I'm going to save this one first. What I'm going to do is under typography here, where these 4 dots are, I'm going to select that, and we're going to have the text styles. Now I'm going to create a style. This style is going to be Pet Care Desktop Hero, and I'm going to create style. Now anytime I want to use this text, this typography, we can come back and use it, and that's how you save a typography for text or a text style. Next up is I'm going to save one of these color styles. I'm going to select this box, and I'm going to apply styles and variables, but this time I'm going to click on this plus, and then we'll have a new style, and then I'm going to create a new color style, which is Pet Care background. And with that, I'll create style. Now we have this color style here, so you can go ahead now and save all of that. I'm also going to stop recording and save all of the typography, and I'm going to save all of the color styles, and then we'll come back and start our project. All right, I've saved all my text styles as well as the color styles for this project, well, for the desktop anyway. I've also gone in and brought in my blobs. We're going to create those in just a moment so you can create yours. Remember, we are creating blobs, so we're going to have different items. So just keep that in mind. If yours is not exactly the same, that's okay. In fact, it's expected. We'll just try our best to make things that are similar or as close to as possible. Next up, I also have my images. Now, some of these images I've removed their background. You can just use any background removing service you use. You can either use remove BG. Just check Google and say free background remover and things like that, and you'll be able to find them. They're a dime a dozen. So I have my images I'm going to use. All of these images will be in our project notes as links in the repository. So don't worry about that. You're going to have the links to all of these images. So let's start with our header section. When it's time to use this, we're going to come back to it, but let's go from top to bottom. Let's start with the header section. I'm going to select this and ungroup. I'm going to now refer to my notes, or I could just type out, let me see, the name of our imaginary business is Perfect Care. And I'm going to go over to typography and I'm going to select, it's going to give me a moment. Okay, I can tell. If you see me like taking my time, it's just going to take me a moment to find the right font or the right typography. So the typography for this is Pet Care logo. I'm going to click on that and we are going to make just a little modification to this. We can at the moment just go over to fill and then use this color style Pet Care font. Change that. Next, select the text and then select only the letter P. And then for colors, use this color style Pet Care red, and then highlight the letter C, and we're going to change the color to Pet Care orange. So this is our very quick logo for our website or our business. Next up is going to be this header section. Let me move this around. We're going to add some text. This is about us. This is I want to modify this one. This one is services and booking. This is blogs and this is contact us. All right, I'm going to, let's start from left to right just to keep things orderly. I'm going to select all of the text. I'm going to go over to typography and I'm going to use Pet Care desktop header. So you just need to hover your mouse cursor over the item and then to show you the full name if it's too long. So we're using Pet Care desktop header. I'm going to click on that. Select this item and then let's make it an auto layout individually. Let's do the same for all of them so we can change their settings all together. So I've made each individual text item an auto layout. Now select all the auto layouts. Padding on the left and right for all of them will be 0. Padding for the top and bottom is also going to be 0. While these items are selected, make this an auto layout again. So you have your frames inside one larger frame. The gap between these items is going to be 30. Now I'm going to select this section. Select, you know what? Let's also make this an auto layout too, because we're going to use it in our prototype. I'm going to make the padding on the left and right 0, padding on the top and bottom 0. And I can just select this section, make it another auto layout again. I'm going to change the alignment to center, align left. You can either use, I just aligned it to the left center, and then I'm going to change the spacing to auto, so that way when we want to reuse it for our tablet layout, we can reuse that header section. Now I'm sure you've noticed that I have not changed the color. That's fine. We'll come back from top to bottom again to change the colors. I tend to leave that for last. Anyway, that's it for the header section. Now let's have a focus on this. I can just delete this text. I can reuse this text box. So select that text, and we're going to change the typography to Pet Care Desktop Hero. And I'm going to go to my notes, and let me bring it to the right side. So this is my disclaimer. This is not a real business. It's just, I already had my outline that I wanted to go for, and instead of using lorem ipsum text, I like using AI generated text, so it looks closer to a real website rather than a UI UX design project. Even though it's a UI UX design project, I like having it look more real. Anyway, so this is not a real business. If it's similar to a business, that is just coincidental. It's all AI generated text. Now we're going to grab this very brief, will I say greeting, or that's the very brief text in our hero section, and I'm going to come over to this text box and paste. I'm going to reduce it so I will have our text on 3 lines, and I want it to be like this. So we have this number of words, 3 lines, just like this. So you can go ahead and do that. I just want to make sure that this text is aligned to the left side of the column, and I'm going to raise it up a bit. We can also reuse this text, this button. I'm going to grab the text for this, copy, and I'm going to paste. Now select the entire text box. Let's change the typography. We're going to change this typography to, this is header. I'm trying to find the button. Maybe I'll have to stop recording so I can find. This is subscribe. Okay, Pet Care Desktop button. Size is 16 by 24. So Pet Care Desktop button. That's the typography for the text. Now let's change our focus to, oh, you know what, we could even change the color of the text right now while it's selected. While we still have this highlighted, let's just go to fill, and we are going to use not text, but we are going to use Pet Care background. Now select the button itself. We're going to leave the padding for the left and right to 10, but we are going to change the padding for the top and bottom to 8. Corner radius for the button, we are going to make it 6 for all sides, and then for the fill, we're going to use this color, which is Pet Care red, and I'm going to change it, and we have this button. Select this text, this button, make it an auto layout, and you can just go ahead and change the gap to 20, and we have a brief greeting. Now we're going to put this blob to use. Well, we're going to do it outside the frame before we bring it back in. So now we can change our focus to these blobs. I'm going to, okay, let me show you how to get it. You can create it yourself if you want as individual blobs. You just create an ellipse and then you modify it. So these ones I actually created it myself. So you can have blobs that are very similar to this, or you can create it yourself. So if you want to create it yourself, like I said, just use an ellipse. Let me just show you. Create an ellipse. You double click on it, and then you have this point. When you move these handles, you just change the settings. So it's easier to use this one. That's mirror angle and length. You can just move this. Let me see. You do this. You can move. You can. Let me use the bend tool. You do this. Let me say you have. I want it to be. You move different angles, and with that you have a blob if you want to, so you can create it yourself. If you don't want to create it yourself, you can use the blob plugin. I'm going to zoom out, and I'm going to right click plugins, and there's a plugin called blobs. Just go ahead and run it. I don't know how it looks like specifically. Just go to the plugins library, look for blobs, and it's very basic. You just load it. It's taking a moment, and it has loaded. This is interesting. If you watch, this is the second part of the video. When you watch the first part of this video, it was free, and that's the unfortunate thing. It actually happened that I know this is a segue or a side note. I created an entire project. I was ready to post it, and then when I went to the website to get the links for the images, those images were now put behind a paywall where they were no longer free, and I couldn't post that project because the images were no longer free. And it just happens like that. Thankfully, we are only using 4 blobs for this project. But when I started this project, I kid you not, probably saying that it was free. Now there are 10 blobs a month. I didn't know that. So sorry about that. I just loaded it for the first time. Last time I used it was fine. So we are going to need 4 for this project. And even if maybe I did the blobs, I showed you how to create the blobs because I just thought you would use this one. We're going to visit it again right after this, so you'll see how to create your own. So this is the blobs we're going to, something like this. So for complexity, what I like doing is 1, 2. Then you can just keep changing till you have something like this. So this is almost similar to this one I have here. So you just keep changing, or you can increase it to 3 here and just keep changing. I don't like the complexity. Let's leave it at 2 because I want things that are not too, let's see. So this is actually very similar to what I have here, even though I created my own myself. And then if I move this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So complexity 1, 2, and then uniqueness 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you should have blobs that are very similar to what I have. They're not that complex. So the more I just saw one that looked like this again. So the more I just change things around, you just have, I want something that looks really simple. You're not going to get exactly what I have. We are going to have similar blobs, but all our blobs are not going to be the same. Everybody's project is going to be unique. Anyway, that's enough talking. And then when you find one you like, just go ahead and insert. And where did it? Okay, so you can see it behind here. Let me not, I'm not going to insert another one. There's no need to do that, just in case I need it. Highly doubtful. If I wanted a blob, I can create it myself. I'll just close that. So this is a blob that I inserted from the blob plugin. But once again, if you want to create your own blob, create an ellipse. I'm holding shift to create a perfect circle, and then double click to open vector mode. You select under mirroring, use mirror angle and length. Select that third option, and then select the bend tool. And on this point, you just need 4 points. You don't need to use more than 4 points. You can either move the handle right or left, and then just kind of randomly move this point. Let me change this. You can just randomly move this. Let me say you want to have something that looks more similar to mine. Going to select this, and let me say I could move this. And the more you just randomly move points, you essentially have this blob. So that's how you can create it yourself. Try with different points or moving the handles different directions, and you can create your own. But anyway, either insert from blobs or create your own. Anyone will do. I'm just using the ones I created because I want to recreate the project I've already made. That's why I'm sticking to these ones. To make things simpler, I'm going to use my 4 blobs throughout this project, so I'm going to reuse them. And in order not to repeat the same one, I was taking note of which one I use first, second, third, fourth. So what we're going to do, so that you too can also follow along in that pattern, so that you don't have similar blobs very close to each other, just pick out your 4 blobs that you're going to use, select it, and then rename them. Let's name this blob, and I'm intentionally using number 1 because we're going to duplicate this, so that when we duplicate we can have things with unique names. So this is blob Figma. Let's see how it's going to rename it. Number 2, I'm going to name this one blob number 3, and this is blob number 4, just like I do with the typography, where I say use desktop header this, use desktop hero this. Now that you've named it like this, when I say use blob number 1, you'll use the blob you've named number 1. When I say let's use number 2, you'll use number 2. I hope that makes sense. But let's just move ahead. We're going to use blob number 1 and blob number 3 for this part, but we're going to start with just blob number 1 to create this, and we're going to also use this image. So I'm going to create a copy of the blob, not the original. So now it's number 5. That's how Figma tends to do this. Tends to rename when there's sense in the names of what you're using. It's going to just add number. Now it's made it number 5. So it's just a copy of number 1. No need to make it a component. I'm going to select these 2 items, and I want to change I'm going to flip horizontal for both of them. So now I have this, especially this image. I want it to turn this direction, and what I want to do is I'm going to have this as a solid object, and I'm going to have this as a, how will I explain it? We're going to have just the stroke, and it's going to be dotted lines. So when you are picking the blob, you don't have to use number 3. I'm just using number 1, but pick a blob that will create a outline where when you have lines, it's going to, this one too will work for what I want to do. Let me just demonstrate what I want to do so that you choose the appropriate blob before we start, so that I don't have 2 that overlap. I'm going to select this blob number 4 and create a copy. Let me add a stroke, and I'm going to pick this yellow one, and let's change the settings. I want it to be dashed line. I'm also going to let me make the weight 5. This is just for demonstration, so you understand what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to remove the outline, and when we see, oh, that's really thick. Anyway, I just wanted to show you something. I'm holding shift to increase this. What I mean, let me just bring it back. What I mean by this is pick a blob that when you overlap these 2, you can have an outline behind the other blob, because we're going to have this sort of dotted line behind our image. That's what I'm going for. So this one actually works too. So just pick 2 blobs, one that would sit well on the other one, and the other one that when you have the outline, it's going to show from behind. Hopefully that makes sense. So maybe you could just watch what I'm about to do, then rewatch it and do it again, so that you'll know which one to use. But that's the one. This is only this section. It's only in this hero section that you're going to have this issue. Every other point is just going to be straightforward. I'm going to delete that dotted line. Let me zoom out. I'm just going to delete these 2. I don't need them. I'm going to start with this. Let's go over to dimensions. You can just watch this step for now, so you see, like I said, just so you see which 2 blobs you're going to use. You don't have to use number 1 or number 2. I'm using 1 and 3 for me because that's what works. Or if you've seen the introduction into this section, you've probably seen how the hero section looks like. But you could just hold on for a moment. Let me carry out this step, and then you can maybe rewatch the video, or if you want to follow along, that's absolutely fine. I'm going to go to dimensions and lock aspect ratio. For the width, make it 656, and for this image, the aspect ratio is already locked. Typically is by default for images. If it's not, go ahead and lock the dimensions, the aspect ratio. The image is going to be 640. Now I'm going to, let's keep our eyes on these 2 images. In fact, what I'll do is I'm going to select the blob first. I'm going to use my right square bracket to bring it to the top, and then I'm also going to select this image, use my right square bracket to bring it to the top, because we need to see what we are doing. I'm going to select this image, or let me start with this blob, Control D to duplicate. Now we have 5 and 6. 6 is on top number 5. This order matters. And I'm going to just grab this image and put it over this blob. What I want to do is have it so it covers well, for me, what works is the image being perfectly aligned to the center as well as being at the bottom of this blob here. Now, while this image is selected, Ctrl D to duplicate. So now we have two images and two blobs together. Go over to this selection panel. Select the image that is at the bottom. So we have two images, one on top, one at the bottom. Select the one is at the bottom and then select the blob that is on top. So if you look at it like a sandwich, this is the bread, this is the bread, and this is the meat. So you're looking for the items that are closest to each other in the middle. Right click and then use as mask. Select that. You really won't notice any change, but there has been a change. Now select the image that is on top. Double click and now you have this option to modify it. We're going to move it so that just cut it off at this blob. You could even move it to the top a bit, and now I'm going to close. Now we'll have this. Now select the blob that is below, go to fill, and we are going to use this one, pet care green as the color. I'm going to zoom out, and that is the image we're going to use here. Now to finish everything off, select this entire group, so the image on top, the mask group, and the blob below. Group it and then also lock the aspect ratio. That way if you want to reuse it, you'll see you have this. If you don't lock the aspect ratio, it's going to break the entire thing. So if I try to, even if I try to hold shift and do this, sometimes, okay, it's working fine, but sometimes it actually distorts the image. So you're better off just locking the aspect ratio and to behave like it's just a typical image. So the width is still going to be 656. Let me zoom out. I'm going to cut and I'm going to replace. I'm going to just bring it here. You know what, I should have even added in our final item, which was the dotted lines. No worries, we're just going to do that part here. Well, the most complicated part is done. So now let's now add our second blob, which is going to be this dotted line. This dashed line. I'm going to grab a copy of this blob. For me, it's going to be number 3. This is why I said maybe you could wait to see how it will come out for me, and then you can do the same to try and get the same result. Don't worry, after now we're not going to have the same issue. Once again, lock the dimensions, lock the aspect ratio, change the width to 716, and I'm just going to now go over to, let's add a stroke before we remove the fill. So go over to stroke, add a stroke. I'm going to use this color, which is called pet care orange, as the color of my stroke. Then I'm going to increase the weight of the stroke to 5, and then under settings I'm going to, under style, select dash, then dash, make the dash 20. Just leave every other thing the same, and I'm going to close this. Now you can remove the fill, and you're going to have this dotted line running across this image. While this dashed line is selected, I'm going to use my left square bracket to send it to the back, and I'm just going to move this around till I find a suitable position I'm comfortable with. So I'm just going to move it like, let's say like this, and for me, let me see, well, this is what works for my own project. Yours may look slightly different, and that's fine. It's just that we are not dealing with perfect shapes, meaning we're not dealing with circles or rectangles and all of that kind of thing. So yours may be different. Essentially, you're going for an effect where you have this image with the cutout effect, where it seems like this cat is popping out of this irregular shape, and then you have this dotted line behind it. That's essentially what you're going for. Select this group and this dotted dashed line, and then group it again. Once again, we could lock the aspect ratio so that when we are reusing it, because we will reuse this for tablets and the mobile, we're not going to have any issues with resizing. I'm just going to return it back to its original state. So currently the width is 716 because this blob was 716, which is slightly larger than the original group. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing and you were able to keep up. You can rewatch it if you want to, but we are going to go through this process over and over again because we're going to do it here. We're going to do it in many parts of this project. So if you miss this part, that's fine. I'm just going to leave this here. The most important thing is just to have our elements. When we are done with this, we'll go from top to bottom, fix the spacings and colors. Let's move on to the next section, which is I don't want to move the elements in the hero sections because they'll be separate. We're still going to have to move the header, this, that, so there's no point of doing that one right now. Let's focus on this one. I'm going to come over here, select this text. I just want to make sure it's aligned to the left, and we are going to change this. Before I do that, there's actually a brief introductory section before that part, so I want to create some space. If you have the space, don't worry, you don't need to do this part. I'm just going to move all of this. Okay, I'm going to grab a copy of this. It skipped my mind for a very brief moment that there was another section here. So this was what I was talking about, that although in most sections of this project the wireframe and the actual web pages are exactly the same, but in some cases they are not. It's just that during the design process I'll change this. I just want you to see the different changes I made from the idea to the finished product. Go to typography and we are going to use pet care desktop heading. Change it to that. I'm going to go to my notes, and this is the brief introduction we have for this heading here, which is welcome to perfect care. And I'm just going to, the resizing of the text is auto width, so you can change the resizing of your text if it's not that. I'm also going to copy this text and I'm going to paste. Okay, it's not in the group. I just want to make sure that it's not part of this group. Sometimes you paste and you're still pasting within the same group. Select this text and then we're going to change the typography to pet care body. So I just need pet care desktop body. That's the typography we're going to use. Select that. Go to your notes and then grab this text. Copy it. Paste. Now let's change the alignment of the text to center, and also I'm going to extend the text so it runs across the middle 10 columns. Select, let's also make this center, even though it really doesn't change anything since the resizing is auto width, so it's going to be fine. But I just changed the alignment of the text here to center. Wait, it actually does matter because we are going to make it a frame or an auto layout that we're going to reduce. So yes, just go ahead and change the alignment for the subheading to center. I'm going to select these two items, make it an auto layout, and I'm also going to change the gap to 20. I just want to make sure that we have a responsive layout, and there we go. That's it for this brief introduction. Now we can actually move on to this section. Let's start with this. I'm just going to make sure it's aligned to the left here, and let's go to typography. I'm going to change this to pet care desktop subheading, and I'm going to copy this subheading here, which is our services, and paste. Next up is going to be this section, but once again let's do this outside the frame. So we're going to use this image, and I'm going to use blob number 2, so you can go ahead and use that. I'm just going to bring it here. I'm going to lock the aspect ratio so I can resize it. the width of this blob, I'm going to make it 423. Select the image, and we are going to change the width of the image to 678. Now I'm going to bring this image over this blob. Let me move it how I feel like I'd want it. Let's say right around here. And for me, it's also centered, so I don't know how to communicate it more than that, but just try and have this kind of overlap in your image and your blob. So that's why I'm specifically focusing on the width of the blobs. That's the best way we can have even measurements across all our projects. So I'm going to, maybe I should have done that before I did this. I'm going to select this too. I want to, so it has been renamed to block number 5. No worries. What I'm going to do is select blob number 5, use the right square bracket to send it to the top, select this image, and also use my right square bracket to send it to the top, so I will know what we are working with. If it gets confusing, you can create a frame and then work in that frame, so you just see only what you have in that particular you have only in that frame, so you don't have to be sorting through all of these, but I'm going to do it out here. Once again, select this. Let's start with the blob. Ctrl D to duplicate that blob. Mind you, we're using blob number 2, but since we've duplicated it, Figma is adding it and then change it to 5 and 6. We're using blob number 2. Select the image, duplicate. Now we have 2 images, 2 blobs. Once again, select the image and the blobs that are closest to each other. Right click, use as mask, and it's going to create a mask group. Now we're going to select this image, and I'm going to double click. What I want to do is reduce it till, what you want is the width should we are going to use the blob as the final width for whatever this is. So I'm going to also reduce the width of this image so it's within the blob, and I'm going to move this bottom part like this, and I'm going to move this top part like, let's see, like this, and the height is currently 455. Let me exit and see if I can communicate. So the width is 349. This really doesn't matter, the width can be as long as it's within this blob. The height is currently 455. Now what we're going to do is select the blob. Now not the mask group, the blob itself. If you are having issues, just select the entire thing, you'll be able to see the blob. So for me, it's blob number 5. We're going to change the fill to pet care orange, and we're going to have this. Select everything, the image, the blob, and the mask group. Ctrl G to group, and then lock the aspect ratio. That way we'll be able to resize. Mind you, the final width should be 423. I'm going to cut and then replace. Let me move this up a little bit like this. Now we can now change our focus to this. I'm going to zoom out, and I could just ungroup these because yeah, they are in groups. And let's go to our blobs. I'm going to create a copy of blob number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. We're going to use them in that order for the next part. I'm going to select all of them. Let's lock their aspect ratio, their respective aspect ratios, and change the width for all of them to 77. I'm now going to Let me make them closer. So I'll just make their spacing 40, so it's going to make it easier for me to work with them. Once again, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to put it from top to bottom. I'm just going to replace it on the group. We'll insert another set of icons. I'm going to cut and then replace here in number 1, cut, replace here in number 2, cut, replace, cut, and replace. Let's select them again, go over to fill and change the color of these blobs, all of them, to pet care purple. Let me kind of move it to the side. Now, next thing we're going to need are our icons. Right click and we are going to run iconify. First, we're going to, the last tab I searched on was dog, so that's why it's on dog. So if you're not here, just go ahead and search for dog. We're going to use this one, this icon here. So I'm just going to grab it and put that over the first blob, and I'm just going to scroll down a little. We're going to use this one. This one is going to be the 4th item, so put it over blob number 4. Let's search for hospital. And I'm going to use this one. I'm going to put it over number 2, blob number 2, and then finally let's search for house. I'm going to use this one. Let me go ahead and close this. I'm going to select all the icons, change their dimensions. The width or height, it will change both to 35. So this is one of the issues of using icons from different sets. These others, they all look similar in size, but this one, even though we're using 35, I think it's because if you look at the edge of these icons, there's less space at the edges compared to this one, which the space at the top and the sides are much larger. So typically when this happens, I'm going to increase this one to, let's say 45. I actually prefer this as it is. So iconify tends to has icons from different icon sets. Typically it's better to use icons from the same icon set, but this is a personal project, and if it looks close enough, or if it looks good enough to me, I tend to use icons from different sets. I'm going to select these two, use Alt V, Alt H, or these are the buttons in under position in alignment. This is how you align horizontal centers, which is Alt H, and then you use this align vertical centers. And I'm going to group. Now we have this. I'm going to select these two and do the same. Let me use the buttons this time. I'm going to align horizontal centers, align vertical centers, group. You know what, let me lock the aspect ratio so that if we want to use it in other parts, if we want to change the size, we'll be able to resize it properly. And I'm going to also lock the aspect ratio for this also. I'm going to select these two, Alt H, Alt V, and then group. In dimensions, lock the aspect ratio, and for this final one, Alt V, Alt H, Ctrl G to group, and I'm also going to lock aspect ratio. For this, we're actually going to use two text boxes. So let me just go ahead and create that. I'm just going to create two text boxes. So we'll have one shorter, one longer. This short one, make it the resizing auto width. I'm going to go over to typography and change this to I'm just going to find. Okay, just give me a moment. Okay, I've actually found it. Pet care desktop medium heading. That's the typography I want to use here. So I'm just going to click that. And then this one is going to be pet care desktop body. So this one typography is pet care desktop medium heading, and this one is pet care desktop body. I'm going to select this. So let me copy in the text for this first item, then we can create, we're going to create a frame, then we'll now reuse it. So this first one is pet grooming. I'm going to copy that and paste, and then I'm going to copy the body text, and then I'm going to paste. For now, let's make the width of this bottom text 415. We'll probably have to resize it for just one of them, but for the others they'll all stay the same. So width of the bottom text is going to be 415, and I'm just going to select this text and this one, make it an auto layout, and gap is going to be 10. Let's create copies of this so that we can create the content for the others. I'm going to grab the mini heading here, and I'm going to paste, and then I'm going to grab the body text and then paste. Next is boarding and daycare. I'm going to paste that, copy this, and I'm going to paste. Finally, we have this one. I'm going to copy this, paste. Let's grab this, and then I'm going to paste. We're going to need another text box before we finish up this section. So I'm going to, let me grab my text first. This is the text we're going to need. I don't know if I explained this, but the way I tend to structure these notes, you'll see it in the description box below, the link to the GitHub repository that has all of this. The notes are here, and then I'll always put the link to the image in each section. So this image here is this cat here that you remove the background, and in this section for our services, that's when you have this dog. So whenever you go through, these 3 images are for the clients in our clients testimonial section. So that's how it is. I'm going to, just going to copy this, and I'm going to insert a text and paste. I'm going to change the typography of this text to pet care desktop body. Just leave it as it is for now. We'll still have to move it because we've not arranged all of this. I'm going to copy this button. You can't save that button as part as a component and then save it in your assets library, but I'm not going to do that. So I just did that to make it easier for me to paste this button here, and I'm going to grab the text for this button, which is schedule now. Alright, now we can select these 2 items, make it an auto layout, alignment should be center, and the gap should be 20. Let's now come to each one of these items. So let's start with this. Select this text and this, will I say sort of icon, let me just call it an icon. Make it an auto layout. Gap is going to be 15. Same with this second one. Make it an auto layout. Alignment should be center and gap 15. Next up is this 2. Make it an auto layout. alignment should be in the middle, and I'm going to make the gap 15. Finally, we're going to make this an auto layout. Let's change the alignment to middle, and we're going to also change the gap to 15. I'm going to just check. So I want this to at least be responsive, so I'll select the frame inside and make it fill container. That way when I resize, I should have this. Same with this one. I'm going to make the width fill container, and then fill container. Finally, we're going to sort of align, well, technically align it. We're going to have it sort of scattered. It's not going to be all on the same line. So what you're going to do is go to the 7th column. So when you count from this side, it should be the 7th column, or if you count from here, it should be the 6th from the back. So this one, I'm going to align this one, perfectly on the 7th column, like this. This second one, I'm going to sort of a little bit to the left, just a little bit, not too much. Next, this, we're going to move it, let's say somewhere around here, maybe a little to the left, like this. And this time we have it sticking out a bit, so I'm just going to reduce the width. I just want to make sure that these ones are not on the edge. And then finally this one, we are going to have, this is going to be touching the edge of the 6th column. So 1 2 3 4 5 6. So from the 7th column, have one perfectly on the edge of the beginning of the 7th column, one just a little to the left of the 7th column, this almost all the way to the right, almost halfway to the right, and this one is going to be on the edge of the 6th column, the end of the 6th column. I'm going to select 1 2 3 and 4, and I'm going to make their spacing 50, and I'm going to group. Then I'm going to select that group. This I'm going to, so I will have some sort of like uniformity. I'll just at least align it to this one. If I align it to this one, it will be fine, but it look kind of odd just having this hang from the edge. So this one is going to be aligned to this last item or the entire group. Select this group and this one, make the spacing 20, and you can group it again. Next is this. I'm going to, let's now align these and then group the entire thing. What I'm going to do is select our services, this, make the spacing 20, and then I'm going to move this one so that it's at, I'm trying to align it, let me select both. I'm going to use Alt V so that this is aligned to the I'm going to align the vertical centers of this, while this is 20 from the image. I'm going to select all of this and then I'm going to group it. Maybe we should see this in the prototype view, although since some elements are still scattered, let's just run this prototype. I'm going to give it a moment. Alright, so we have our header section, then we have the hero section just over here, and then we have this brief introduction, and now we have the services page. Alright, our services section, where when we click this button in the prototype, it's going to take us to the services page or the contact page. I can't really remember, but anyway, that's it for that section. Let's now move on to the next section, which is the client testimonial section. Let's start with the images. So I'm just going to, these are the images we're going to use for this section. So I just have all three here, and for this section we are going to use blob 1, 2 and 3. So I'm just going to select all three create copies, and then I'm going to bring one here. This is number 2 and this is number 3. So you can go ahead and create copies of the appropriate blobs. I'm going to, let's start with this image. We're going to do each one by one. So I'm going to start with this image. I just want to move it up so I can have more space to work with. Once again, maybe I should have done this earlier, so that I'm just going to select all of this and lock their individual aspect ratios, so that I don't have to do it all the time. So I'm just going to go to aspect ratio, dimensions, aspect ratio, and lock their aspect ratios. Select this blob and change the width to 360, and this image, change the width of the image to 435. Next, I'm going to select this blob and use my right square bracket to send it to the top. I'm going to select this image, right square bracket, send it to the top, so we have this this blob on the bottom, this image on top. Select the blob, Control D to duplicate, so we have 7 at the bottom, 8 on top. That's for me anyway. Or you're just, if you want to find out what it is, just highlight the section and you can see the blob. So for me, I have 7 at the bottom, 8 on top. I'm now going to grab this image and I'm going to place it, let me see, okay, I have it sort of in the center here. Maybe I could move it down here. Yours may look a bit different. We're not going to have exactly the same thing, and that's fine. I'm just going to have it something like this. While I'm selected on the image, Control D to duplicate. Now I have 2 copies of the image, 2 copies of the blob. Now go over to this selection panel here and select the image and the blob that are closest to each other. Select those 2, right click, use as mask. Next, we're going to select the blob underneath. Let's go to fill, and we're going to change the fill to this color, which is pet care green, and then select the image on top, and we're going to crop it. So I'm going to double click and I'm going to raise it up. What you're trying to do is trim this area that is coming out of the image. So it's just how this lady's feet and part of this dog's feet and tail as well. And I'm going to reduce the width so that the width would be within the blob. So just reduce the width so that the image would the blobs, and just be careful. I just did something I shouldn't have, which is remove part of that lady's hand. So I just put it on the edge of the blob, and then I'm going to reduce this as close as possible as I can to her head here. You know, maybe I can get closer. Maybe I should have mentioned this earlier, but when you're using a service to remove the background, what you find out with most of them is that when you are using the free version, you can only download in lower quality. You can't get the HD version. Some of them allow you to, like this one I used. Unfortunately, when I used it initially, it was free, but by the time I came around to making this video, it was no longer a free service anymore. You could only get lower quality versions. You couldn't get the HD versions. So if you can, get the HD versions, because when you are making these changes, some of them become highly pixelated and it's not as good as quality as the, as you can see, this image is actually the quality is actually very good. So maybe I should have mentioned that initially, but just make sure that that's what you do. Try and get the HD versions. This, I just noticed that if I had left it as it was, I'll be seeing part of her leg there. So I'll just raise this up again like this, and then I'm going to close this. Now when I zoom out, we're going to have this image. Now select everything, group it, and then go over to dimensions and lock the aspect ratio, and should have this. The width is currently 360. Let's go to the next one. we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to select this blob, make the width 360. Select the blob first, use the right square bracket to send it to the top. Select the image next, right square bracket, send it to the top. I'm going to select this, Ctrl D to duplicate. This image, I'm going to change the dimensions first. So I'm going to change the width to 862. And I'm going to have this image over the blob. And I want to, so I just have this. So it's for me, it's on the bottom of the blob. So maybe you could do that. Let me see if for me, like, again, I don't even know how I'm going to communicate it, but just sort of go with, you have the blob behind and you have this image here. While I'm selected on this image, Ctrl D to duplicate. Next, we're going to select the image and the blob that is closest to it, right click, and then use as mask. Select the blob, go over to fill, and we are going to change the fill to this one, pet care red. And then I'm going to select the image on top, double click, and we are going to trim this image. Our goal is to make sure that the image is the same width with the blob, because that will guide dimensions. I'm just going to increase it. His shirt is going to show on the right, so I'm just going to keep reducing till I know that we won't have any excess on the edge. And then I'm going to reduce the height. Which one is, I think this, the cat's ear is what I'll use. Okay, I'm just going to get it as close as that. Escape to close the dialog. We have our image. I'm going to select everything, group it, and then go over to dimensions and lock aspect ratio. Let's work on the final image, which is this one. Select the blob. Let's change the width to 360, and I'm going to use my right square bracket to send it to the top, then send the image to the top also. Select this blob, Ctrl D to duplicate, and now I'm going to, oh, I haven't changed the dimensions for this image. The width is going to be 270. So change the width of the image to 270, and I'm going to move this image. I think this one will also work for the bottom of the image touching the bottom of the blog, and for me aligning it to the center, so it's on the bottom, aligning to the center works for me. For you, your blog may have a different shape, so you may have to move it to the left or to the right. Just put it wherever works for you. As I'm selected on this image, Ctrl D to duplicate again. Once again, go over to the selection panel, select the image and the blob that are closest to each other, right click, use as mask. Now go to the blob below, go to fill. We are going to use pet care orange as the color. Go back to the image, double click, and we are going to trim this image. I'm going to crop it so that it's here. There's no need to trim the width. I'm just going to come over here and then reduce this to maybe around here, and I'm going to close that. Now we have our third image. Select everything, group it, and then over our dimensions, lock aspect ratio. Now we can start working on this section. Let me just bring them closer. Select this subheading. I just want to make sure it's aligned to the edge of the first column of our layout guide, and I'm going to change the typography to pet care desktop subheading 1. I'm going to go back to my notes, and this is the subheading for this section, and paste. And then I'm going to select, let's start with this. I'm going to ungroup, and I'm going to select this rectangle. I just want to make sure it's on this edge. Alright, first of all, we're going to change the fill of this rectangle to the background color. So, or you could use whiteboard. I'm going to just change it to the background color. Currently, this rectangle's corner radius is 10. If that's what you have, you can leave it at that. Dimensions, the width is going to be 840 and the height is going to be 255. And I'm just going to move it back here. Next, we're going to insert, or I'm not done with this rectangle. Next is going to be some effects, and under effects we're going to use some shadows. So click on effects and you're going to have a drop shadow. Click on effect again. So we have 2 drop shadows. That's what we're going for. For the top one, open the settings. The X position is going to be 0, Y position is going to be 1, the blur is going to be 2, and spread is 0. The color of this shadow is going to be 0D 0801, and the opacity is going to be 30%. Next is going to be the second one. Position, the X position is 0, Y position is 1. The blur is going to be 3, spread is 1. The color of the shadow, leave it like that, but we're going to change the opacity to 15%. And I'm going to exit, and this is what our rectangle should look like. Let me just open the settings just again. So the shadow on the top, this one here, X position is 0, Y is 1, blur is 2, spread is 0. This is the color, and then the opacity is 30%. The second one, X position is 0, Y position is 1, blur is 3, spread is 1, the color is black, and the opacity is 15%. Let's insert an icon. So I'm going to right click, go to plugins, and I'm going to run Iconify. We are going to search for star, and I'm using this third one. That's something that has the same, how will I put it, this one has sharp edges. I want something that is filled and also has this curved edges. So I'm going to select this one, and I'm going to bring it into our frame, close it while it's selected so I don't lose it. I'm going to go over to selection colors. We are going to use pet care orange for the color. For dimensions, we're going to use 35 by 35. I'm just going to have this here, and we're going to create 4 more copies, so we'll have a total of 5 stars. I'm going to select all 5, make it a frame, and the gap should be 0. And I'm just going to have that here. Next, I'm going to select this text. Let's change typography to pet care body text. So pet care desktop body. And I'm going to grab the text for this first one, copy, and then paste. The width for this text box should be 570. Next is this one at the bottom. We're going to use mini heading, pet care desktop medium, not mini, pet care desktop medium heading for the name. And I'm going to grab the name of our client, and I'm going to paste. Next, I'm going to select all of this, and I want it to be aligned to this column, or not. Okay, we're still going to have this. This is going to be much smaller. I'm going to select this name, text, and these stars. make it an auto layout. Alignment should be left. Let's also make it center. Gap should be 10. So if yours is, mine just randomly was 10, so you can go ahead and change the gap to 10. I'm going to move this so it's on the center of this rectangle and align to this column here. I'm going to leave it like that for now. Let me grab my image. I'm going to cut this image and then replace it here. Our goal, first of all, is to have this image on the edge of the first column and also aligned to the rectangle. So you can just select all of them, all of these items, use Alt V to align their vertical centers, and then I'm going to group everything all together to just make it easier. I can select this completed group, select these two, Ctrl+Shift+R to paste and replace, and now we can now add in the other elements for the other client testimonials. Let's select this image. I'm going to cut it, and then I'm going to replace. May have to realign it because they have different heights, although their width are the same, heights probably are different. Let's finish up the let's grab the text first and then we'll align. I'm going to select this and I'm going to paste here. I'm going to grab the name, copy, and then paste. I'm going to now select all elements within the group, use Alt and V to align their vertical centers, and that's it. They're already in their own group. I'm going to grab the final image, cut, and then replace using Ctrl+Shift+R. I'm going to copy this text and paste here. I'm going to grab the name of our clients and I'm going to paste. Now I'm going to click on enter. I selected the group and then clicked on enter. It allows me to select everything in that group. Alt V to align them vertically, and that's it. Let's zoom out and we're going to space this. Let's see, I'm going to select all of them and I'm going to change their spacing to 20. Well, 20 looks good enough. I'm going to just leave it at 20 as it is, and then finally let's group the entire section. Let's go to the this prototype tab so we can see what it looks like. Give it a moment so it's going to load, and then we have the client testimonial section. So I'm just going to scroll down, and yeah, you're done with this one. That is it for the client testimonial section. This section, the subheading is going to be follow us on Instagram. So I'm just going to copy that text, select this text here, just going to make sure it's aligned to the edge. I'm going to change this to pet care desktop subheading 1, and then I'm going to paste my text. Next, I'm going to do the image grid one by one for each image, but we're still going to use this layout. Well, I think it would be better off if we did it with the images just to save time. The first image is going to be this one. I'm going to grab it, and this first image we're going to reduce it so that it's on 3 columns like this. Then so the width now is 345 since it's on 3 columns. So I'm going to double click and we are going to increase the height to 480. So I'm going to just increase this till we have 480, and then I'm going to hold shift down and then increase the height of this image so it covers the entire frame that I want to crop, and we're just going to leave that like that. Let's move on to the second image, which is this one. I'm going to bring it into my frame and I'm going to align it to the edge of the first column and then reduce it till the width is on 3 columns. I'm going to double click so I can crop this, increase this to 480 like this, and then I'm going to hold shift down and increase this. Close that dialog. Next up is this image. I'm going to bring it into our frame. This, we need to change the height to 245. Next, I'm going to reduce the width, sorry. What I'm going to do is double click and then reduce the so it's on this 4th column, and I'm also going to reduce it so it's on 3 columns like this. And I'm going to just hold shift down and then recenter this image where we have the cat specifically mostly in the center, and I'm going to close that dialog. So the image is 245 by 245. Next up is this image. I'm going to bring it into our frame. This we can just go ahead and align to 3 columns. So the width will be 245. I'm going to double click this image. We're going to increase the height to 450. And then I'm going to hold shift down, increase this image, close that dialog. Next image is going to be this one. I'm going to bring it into our frame, align it to this column, and then I'm going to also reduce it so that the width is on 3 columns. And then I'm going to double click, increase the height to 450. Next, I'm going to hold shift down, increase this, close the dialog. Next image is going to be this, and I'm going to, let me start by reducing the width so it's on 3 columns, then we can increase the height. So 3 is on 3 columns now. I'm going to double click, I'm going to increase it to 245. And then I'm going to hold shift down and increase. Maybe I'll just remove this a little bit to the right. Close. Next image is going to be this one. I'm going to, let's start by just reducing it so the width fits on 3 columns, and we're going to double click on the image so we can increase the height to 245. A little bit more. And I'm going to select the image, hold shift, and then increase this. I'm going to zoom out. I think I would move this just a little bit to the right, and we can close that dialog. Next up is this image. I'm going to align it to the column and then just move it up a bit, and I'm going to double click on the image and increase the height to 450. I'm going to zoom out, hold shift, increase this, and I'm going to grab this image next and align it to this column. This one is going to go across 6 columns, so the width will be 510. going to double click the image so we can reduce it to the height to 245. That was a little bit much. I'm going to move the image up like this, close that, and we're going to grab the final image, which is this. Go across 3 columns, and then I'm going to increase the height to 245. Hold shift down and we can zoom in like this. Let's close that dialog. Finally, let's select all the images, and I'm going to go over to corner radius, and we're going to make the corner radius for all of them 8. Now select the we need a button, so I'm just going to go over here. I'm going to copy this text, this button, sorry, and I just want to use this to help me paste, because a lot of times when you paste, it's going to paste it wherever it feels like it. So what I just did is copy that and then replace it there, and this is going to be follow us. So what I'm going to do is select this, this, and this. I'm going to make the spacing 20, and then I can select all of this here. Let's go to alignment, align top. Next, I'm going to select these 3, make the spacing 20. I'm going to select these 2. Let's make the spacing 20. I'm going to select these 3 finally. Let's make the spacing 20. I'm going to select just the images, and then I'm going to group, and we can also lock the aspect ratio of the group that contains just the images. And then what I'm going to do is select all 3 of these, make it an auto layout, and make the gap between all items 20. We can also make this group within this frame fill container. That way it makes it easier for us to resize for the tablet layout, although we'll have to redesign the entire thing for the mobile, but at least it's just going to make it easier for at least one part of our project. Let's go to it's going to take just a little moment for it to load so we can see the layout in the prototype view. And there we go, we have this Instagram highlights of our business. Let's go back to the design tab so we can work on this section, which is the blogs highlights section. Let's start with the subheading here. I'm going to select it, change the typography to pet care desktop subheading 1, and I'm going to grab the subheading for this section, which is featured blogs, and I'm going to paste. Just want to make sure that our text is on the edge of the first column. I'm going to select this group, and I'm going to ungroup. Let me reuse this first one. I'm going to ungroup this, and I'm just going to change the typography of this text. Let's start with this first one. I'm going to change the typography of this to pet care desktop medium heading. Select the second one, change it to pet care desktop blog. Select it, change it to pet care desktop blog date. And finally, for this one, we're also going to change the typography to pet care desktop blog. Let me copy in my text, at least for this one, then we can, or maybe let's finish up everything, then we can copy in the text instead of doing it and coming back and doing it all over again. I'm going to select this one and I'm going to make it an auto layout. Just change the padding for the top and bottom to 0 and the padding for the left and right is going to be 20. I'm going to reduce it so it's back on 3 columns. The text should be set to, the width of the text should be set to fill container. Next up, we're going to make this one an auto layout. Also, make the padding on the top and bottom 0, padding on the left and right 20. And I'm going to change the width of the text to fill container. And I'm just going to place it here. Next up is this one, which is going to be the date. Make it a frame. Change the padding on top and bottom to 0. Left and right is going to be 20. And I'm going to just increase this. The padding, I didn't really pay attention to the alignment. It should be left center. So the alignment should be on the center as well as on the left. Finally, we're going to do the same for this one. Make it a frame. Let's change the alignment to left, padding on the left and right 20, padding on top and bottom 0, and we are going to select the text and change the width to fill container, and I'm just going to increase this. Now that we have all of these elements, did I set this? I don't think it will make a difference because this text is much shorter. Just in case you have something, it's going to you don't need to start modifying the image. Maybe I can, there's no need, this is not the actual image we're going to use. I want to just create it so that you can save it as a component. You can now have this as a sort of blank blog post. So if you want to reuse it and want to create it as a component, you can. So what I'm going to do is just select everything, make it an auto layout. The gap between all of these items is going to be 7. Next, we're going to go over to, we're going to add a fill. So go ahead, add a fill to this, change the fill to the background color. Next, add a stroke. The stroke color is going to be this pet care border, and then corner radius is going to be 8, and add the padding, expand this, add the padding to just the bottom and make the padding at the bottom 10. So once again, this you won't have those edges here, but I'm going to modify it when I bring in the actual image. That's why I didn't want to, I was trying to decide if I should do it now or do it later. But right now you can just keep a copy of this and then save it as a component so that you can reuse it. So if you have a design where you need to have a placeholder for blogs or blog posts or things like that, you can just keep it. But for now, I'm going to change it to the image I want to use, then I can finish this process. The image we're going to use is this for the first blog, this one. The width is going to be 333, which is the width across 3 columns here. So I'm going to change the width to 333. As for the height, I want it to be 240. So I'm just going to resize it to 240. I'm going to zoom out. Now I'm going to resize this so the focus is on mostly this dog here. And I'm just going to click on escape to end that dialog. Next up, I'm going to select the image, cut it, and then I'm going to replace it here. Now what I want, the final part of this image is, if you look at the border, we have this border but it's not on the image. So that's the final part of this section, well, the actual blog itself. Let's select the image. On the image, we're going to add a stroke. The stroke color is going to be the same with the background, and we're going to change it to pet care border. In the border settings, open these individual strokes, select custom, and for the bottom stroke, make it 0. And then go over to corner radius, expand this, make the corner radius on the top left 8, corner radius on the top right 8 also. And I'm going to click out. Now when we look at this, we're going to have the corner this border around the entire thing. So I think you can do the same for this one. I didn't do it because it was redundant to do it here and then replace it with the image, but you can do the same for this image, so you can have a blog post that has the border all around it. But yeah, that's it for this one. Finally, I just want to check the resizing of this blog post so that we can reuse it. So the image, the text are all responsive, but the image is not. So what I'll do is select the image, go to the width, make it fill container, and now when I resize it, it should respond like this. So that way when we're resizing for other frames or layouts, it's going to be easier to do. I'm just going to select these two, or let me copy this, select this two, Control Shift R to replace, so that we can bring in the other the text and then the images for the other sections, and we can move forward. I'm going to grab these. This is the heading text for the blog. I'm going to select it and then paste. I'm also going to copy this and then paste it there. I'm going to grab the date and paste. Oh, there was no need to do that. I wasn't really even paying attention. Anyway, that's it for the content of this one. I just realized it would have been better if I had just changed the colors. So I'm going to select this one. I'm going to change this to pet care font. This one in selection colors, I'll just select I'm going to use this pet care green. The date is also going to be pet care green, and this one is going to be pet care font. So this time I can just copy it again so that I don't have to change the colors again. I'm just going to change it to, I'm going to paste and then replace with those. Let me grab the text for this, then we'll focus on the images. I'm going to start with this heading. I'm going to paste. I'm going to grab the description and I'm going to paste. No need to change the date. I'm going to grab the heading for this. You can change the date if you want to, but I'm just going to leave it as all the same dates. I'm going to copy this description and paste. I'm going to zoom out the images. The height I believe is 240, so I'm going to, these are the images we're using for this section. I'm going to change their weights to 333, and then height is going to be 240. Just going to increase the weight of this, the height, close that. Let me move it a little to the right. I'm going to select the image, cut, come back to our frame, and I'm going to paste and replace to change the image. Next, go over to width, set the width to fill container, add a stroke, change the stroke color to the pet care border, and let's finish up with the stroke first. Open the stroke settings and then select custom. For the bottom stroke, make it 0, and then the corner radius on the top left is going to be 8, and the top right is also going to be 8, and we should have this. Let's work on this one. We're going to crop the image, this image, so the height is 240. I'm just going to reduce this, close this dialog. I'm going to cut this image, and then I'm going to paste and replace. Let's change the corner radius on the top left to 8, top right to 8. Let's add a stroke. Let's go to our color library, and we're going to use pet care border. Let's open the settings for individual, select custom, and on the bottom we're going to make the stroke 0, and this is what we have. Now I'm going to select these 3 blog posts, and I'm going to make it an auto layout. The gap should match what we have in between the match our gutter, which is 20, and I'm going to select each of our frames, go to width, make it fill container, select the next one, fill container, select this one, fill container, and okay. Oh, I didn't change the resizing of this image, so that's why you check. Set the image to fill container, and I'm just going to check okay again. That is fine. I'm going to select the subheading and then this blog post, make it an auto layout again, change the gap to 20. I want to check the text is currently set to fill container, and the frame is set to fill container, so that way I should be able to. Okay, so we are done with the featured blogs section. I'm going to go to prototype section, and we're just going to give this a moment to load. Okay, so our blog posts have our featured blog section has loaded, and this is what it looks like. But I have forgotten one final detail, which is a button. So what I'm going to do is copy this button, and I'm going to paste here, and I'm going to add it to this frame. I want to add it to this frame, not the individual frames. Just give me a moment. Okay, that shouldn't affect our settings. All right, the button text is going to be view all blogs. All right, that's it for the featured blog section. Now we can work on the footer section. I'm going to select this section, and I'm going to ungroup. Let's select this, and I just want to check. So currently the height from my rectangle is 469. I want it to be 450, so you can go ahead and reduce the height of that rectangle. Next, I'm going to let me create a copy of this, because I'm going to quickly create a button as well. I'm going to create a copy of that. Let's start with this text. I just want to make sure it's at the edge. I'm going to change the typography to, it's the footer, it's going to be pet care desktop footer 1. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to select this text. I'm going to change the typography to pet care desktop body. Okay, and I'm just going to, let me grab my text so we can finish up with that side. So This is going to be subscribe to our newsletter. I'm going to paste, and I'm going to copy this text and then paste. Let's change the resizing for this text box to auto width. I'm going to select these two items, make it an auto layout, and we're going to make the gap between the two of them 10. Next up, I'm going to select this. We're going to still move it anyway. Let's grab the text, which is just subscribe now, and I'm going to paste. Let's change the typography to, it's going to be pet care desktop subscribe button. Next, I'm going to make this a frame using Shift A. Make the padding on the left and right 20. As for corner radius, we're going to make it 6. Now let's add a fill. The fill color is going to be the text color, so pet care font is going to be the color, and then I'm just going to select the center so I can change the color of the text. We're going to change the color of the text to pet care background, and I'm just going to move it here, and then I'm going to select this to make it an auto layout or a frame. Okay, you can just leave it like that. Spacing is currently set to auto. Let's now move on to this section. Let's start with this text. We're going to change the typography to pet care logo, and we are going to change the text. I'm going to grab the text for our imaginary business, and we're going to highlight this P. We're going to change the color for that to this pet care red, and we're going to select C, change the color to pet care yellow. For these others, we can just go ahead and change it to the background color. Let me just change it to pet care background. Next up, for this section, I'm going to change the typography to pet care desktop footer body, and I'll go to my notes, grab the text and paste. I want the text on two lines like this, so we're just going to leave it. Select this to make it an auto layout. The gap between these two is going to be 10. Let's move on to the next one. I'm going to ungroup this section, select these quick links. We don't need to change the text because that's the same text as in the notes. I'm going to change it to pet care desktop footer heading. Once again, another mouthful. I'm going to select all of this, and I'm going to change the typography of all this text to pet care desktop footer body. This is going to be home. This one is about us. This one is services and booking. This is blog, and this is contact us. We're going to select each one of these items, and we're going to make it an auto layout, so, or a frame rather. I'm going to select each one, make it a frame. Same thing here, and then same thing here. Let's select all of the individual frames. Make the padding for left and right 0, padding for top and bottom 0. While they are all selected, make it an auto layout. Make the gap between all of them 15. Then you can select this heading and this frame, make it a frame as well, and the gap is going to be 20. Let's move on to this one. The text, we're going to You know what, I could just reuse this one. So I'm going to create a copy of this. Let's go to our notes. So we already have quick links, and I'm going to copy this, which is visitors, paste. I'm going to select this address placeholder, paste. Let me see, I want to, okay, this frame, let me set it to hug content. The alignment, it seems like, okay, the alignment for all of them is not the same. This one was on the center, so I just changed it back to left. We're just going to use the top three. We're going to use this phone number placeholder. I'm going to paste, and then let's copy the email placeholder, and I'm going to paste. Okay, I didn't select the text box. I'm just going to delete these two, as we're not going to need them. So I'm going to select these two and delete. Once again, I just want to make sure that this frame looks fine. Yeah, that's it for this one. We have another one which is for, let me create another copy of this, bring it here. I'm going to go over to my notes. So we have opening hours. I'm going to paste, then copy this. I'm going to paste it here. There's a bit of an overlap. I'm going to fix that in a moment, and I'm going to paste. We have only 2 items, so I'm just going to delete this third one. The final item is this follow us section, so I'm just going to ungroup. So we have, I'm going to, let me select, okay, I just want to make sure I selected the child frame. We have Facebook, Instagram, X. I'm going to add a YouTube icon, so let me just right click, go to plugins, and I'm going to run Iconify. Let's search for YouTube. I'm just going to use this first option. Let me close this. Let's bring this one closer. I want to check, okay, the size for these icons is supposed to be 24 by 24. I'm going to need a text box, so I'm thinking, well, let me just create one. I was thinking maybe I should copy from somewhere. I'm just going to copy that text and then create a new text box and paste. Let's change this, the typography of this text to pet care desktop footer body. I'm just going to create copies so we can copy and paste the associated text for each icon. Next is going to be Instagram, and then we have X, YouTube, and then finally we have TikTok. And paste. I'm going to select these two, make it an auto layout. Gap between these two should be 10. Same with these two, auto layouts. Alignment should be middle, and then gap should be 10. Going to make it an auto layout also. Gap is already 10 for me. Alignment is on the left. You can also do that. Going to make it an auto layout. Let me change the alignment to center, gap 10, and then finally for the TikTok, Same thing, gap should be 10. I'm going to select all of these items, make it an auto layout. Alignment should be left, either of the left options will do, but the gap should be 15. Let me change the typography for this heading section, and we're going to make this pet care desktop footer heading. Select this to make it an auto layout. Gap should be 20. Now I'm going to zoom out. Okay, we still have this section below. I'm just going to select this and I click on enter so I can select all the text. Go over to typography, change the typography of the text to pet care desktop footer body. I'm going to copy this text and I'm going to paste. Let's move on to the next one. I'm going to copy. Oh, there's no need. Privacy policy, terms of service, legal. Okay, there's no need to copy and paste. It's already looks good. I just want to make sure that the text are set to the resizing set to auto width. I'm going to select this tree, make it an auto layout, make the gap 30, and then while this frame is selected, just select this text, make it a frame 2, and it's currently set to auto. Padding left and right, top and bottom should be 0. Okay, so we essentially built up our footer section. Let's change, and I say when we're done we'll change it, but since we're already here, let's, sometimes you do it all at once, sometimes you do it one by one. I'm going to now space things out and then change the colors. Let's see, let me change the height of this rectangle. The height is supposed to be 320, and I've lost my text. I'm just going to move it. Okay, let's now space things out. First of all, we're trying to figure out how much overlap we're going to have between this rectangle and this one. We're just going to move it, and what I want is, it's currently, this is interfering with what we want. I want the distance between the bottom of the rectangle behind and the one in front to be 45. So I'm going to move it up, hold Alt. I don't know if it makes sense. The height of this one is 450. The height of this one in front is 320. When you select this one and hold Alt and hover, you're going to see that the space between the bottom of the one in behind it and the one in front is 45. Their bottom. You can make it shorter, but I don't want to distort this curve on the top. I'm going to move it so that we're going to move this one on top, and what we're going for is a distance of 30 between these two. So I'm going to select this to 31. So select this, and the spacing between them should be 30. Then I'm going to start with this. Oops, let me not mess up the, I want to move it, and what we are going for is the top of this rectangle. Distance between the top of this rectangle and the top of this one should be 30. So I'm going to use Alt to check. It's currently 43. I'm going to raise it up, check again, 31. So I have 30 here. Okay, I'm going to move all of this upward so that, or I could just select all of them and go to alignment, align top. I'm going to move this to the edge so that it's on the edge of this last column. This I'm going to move so that it's at the half point, so it's aligned to the center of this. It doesn't look like it is for me. I just use Alt V so that this would be we aligned vertically at this center, the vertical center of this first frame. Now, while these two are selected, select the other items and then go to alignment, and we're going to distribute horizontal spacing. Next, I'm going to select this one, and I want this one to be 15 from the bottom of this rectangle. You know what I'll do is I'll increase the height of I want to check something. I'm going to increase the height of this rectangle by 20, so it will be 340. And that means we are going to have to move this one. So now the spacing between the bottom of that other one, because I just felt like the space between these two were too close. Once again, I just moved the rectangle behind so that it's 40 from the 45 from the bottom, so their bottoms are 45 from each other. I'm going to move this text so that it's 15 px from the bottom of that rectangle. Okay, so once again, I'm just going to go through it. This rectangle behind, the height is 450. The one in front, the height I changed it to 340. The bottom of this rectangle should be at 45 from the bottom of the yellow rectangle should be 45. The bottom of the yellow rectangle should be 45 from the bottom of the brown rectangle. This should be 30 between these two, this brown rectangle and this text. The spacing should be 30. All of this should be aligned to, it's currently 29. I guess I must have moved it just a little bit. So what I'm going to do, it's a good thing I checked, but it was just the difference of one. The difference between these two should be 30 from the top, and then align all of these. This should be aligned to the center of this first one, and then you distribute their spacing. This one, the bottom of this one and the bottom of the brown rectangle should be 15. Hopefully that makes sense. Typically, I like to change my colors at the end of the project, but that's when you're dealing with maybe 1, 2, or 3 colors. This project has a lot of colors, so we're better off just changing them now. Well, here anyway. I'm going to select the rectangle behind. Let's go to fill. We're going to use this pet care orange. I'm going to select this, anything that has a dark color. So this black color I've changed for the button. This black color, I'm going to change it to pet care font. I'm going to select this rectangle behind, and I'm going to change it to pet care font as the color. I'm going to select this. Let me open selection color. So there's white, so it's for this bottom text. I'm going to change it to the pet care background. I'm going to select all of this, including this text, and I'm going to change it to pet care background. Now I can just select everything in this section and group. Let's go to selection colors just to make sure we've changed. So we've changed all of the colors. We don't have any colors that is not saved in our color style library. Now we can go to the top. We're going to space out the items, and then we're going to put the final detail for our home page. I'm going to start with this header section, and I'm going to make sure that it's 70 from the top of my frame. And then for this one, I just want to check that it's 90 from the edge, the right edge of our frame. Now I'm going to move this up till the ear of the cat is almost touching this header section. I'll have to move this in front, but let's just leave it like this for now. So the image of this cat is going to be 90 from the edge, and for me it's at 25. So maybe yours is going to be different. So the entire frame of the cat is at 25, but I'm more focusing on the ears of this cat, so it's very close to this section here. Select the header section and this section, change the spacing to 245. Next, I'm going to select this image and this section. Spacing is going to be 130. Then I'm going to select this section and this one spacing is going to be 155. Now I'm going to select this section, this one, this and this, make the spacing 155 also, and then finally select this last section and the footer section, make the spacing 100. Next, I'm going to reduce the height of this frame so that it fits just at the bottom of the footer section. And we are almost done. Let's go back to the top and then start working on the colors. I'm going to start on this. I'm going to scroll down. So we have pet care font, so which is all these colors from this logo. This that is black, I'm going to select it and change it to pet care font. This, the black, I believe is from this. Yeah, I'm going to change it to pet care font. I'm going to select this one. We already have the appropriate color, so we can just move on. I'm going to select this section. This is going to be pet care font. I'm going to select this entire section, so we have all these colors. Black, I believe it should be for the text, so whatever is there is going to be for the text. I'm just going to keep my eyes on it. And where we have white, it should be these logos that are white, or maybe even this text. I really can't remember. So this is going to be pet care background. Next is this section. We have pet care orange background. I'm not just going to just change this one to black, because remember the shadow on this rectangle is also black, so I don't want to end up changing that to black. So I'm just making sure that it's just the text I'm changing. Same with this one, and then same with this one. Let me see if so black is still showing up. Let me make sure it's not this one. All right, I just want to make sure I don't unintentionally change the color of the shadow. Okay, it didn't even actually come up, so it's not part of our selection colors, which is good. So I just went through and then changed all of this to make sure whatever is dark in color, like black, just change it to your text color. I'm going to select this one. This one is going to be straightforward. I'm going to change it to our font color. This, I'm going to do this one by one. I'm going to change this to text. I believe I've already changed all of this. Yes, I have. So there's nothing to change there. I'm going to check this. I've already changed the colors for that. This one, we don't have any unsaved color styles. The final one is, of course, I've now changed the fill for the home page. So I'm going to select the entire frame, go to fill, and select pet care background. The final detail of this project, remember when we're looking at the mood board, I said I wanted to have those paw prints at the background of our home page. That's what we're going to do now. So what I did is I already copied the one I created when I was making this project, and I just brought it in. I'm going to show you how I created it. Let's start with a line, and I'm just going to draw this, let's say like this. Go over to rotation and make the rotation 37 degrees. Next, I'm going to just make this line thicker so I can see it better. I'm going to now grab an icon. So I'm going to right click, go to plugins, and I'm going to run Iconify. So I already have this tab open. What you need to do is just search for paw and scroll down. I want to use this one, the icon set. I want to hover the icon set. Is it Twimoji? I don't know if paw prints, I don't know if that is the correct. So it's this one I use. What you're just going to do is grab this and bring it into our design tab. Oops, I've lost my, okay. I'm going to just change the dimensions to 288 by 288, and I'm going to go over to selection colors, and I'm going to change the color to this color where we have pet care paw prints, and I'm just going to zoom out. Now we're going to rotate this. So you see that the rotation of this paw print will change. So this one, it's minus 72 this one, I wasn't like choosing to rotate it that amount. I just randomly moved it, and you see that the rotations are always different. This one is minus 4, this 44, 47, so on and so forth. But if you want to see the actual rotations of each one, so the first one is minus 72, second is minus 56, minus 44, minus 40, minus 47, minus 62, and minus 63. Once again, you don't have to use this exact rotation. I didn't go out of my way to pick an exact number. All I did was select the frame and then rotate. Just kind of use this line as a guide to guide me. So what I just do is, we have 7 paw prints, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to create 7 copies of this. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let me check the width of this. So the total width was 1710. So I'm going to reduce the line, the 1710, so that we can have the same length. And what you're essentially going to do is just kind of move these paw prints around. Maybe I'm just going to have this here, maybe rotate it a little bit to this direction like this. Move this one, let me select this, bring it here, maybe just rotate it a little to this side. Once again, you don't have to use exactly the same rotation I'm using. And this one, bring it out a bit, but you'll notice that they are not equal. Some of them are out of line, some of them are in line. So that's what you're essentially just going to do. I'm not going to redo it again because, like I said, I didn't go out of my way to decide what the rotation was. It was just me moving it around and then randomly placing it in different positions. And then by the time I was done, I had something that looks like this. This project is full of items where I cannot 100% give you an exact location, rotation, dimensions, and all of that. But please, that's what you're just going to do. Try and want it to be this close. When you're done, the width of your items should be, when you're done, the reason why when you're done, what you want is, you are going to select all of this and then you're going to group it. By the time you're done, the width of the items you have should be around 1710. It doesn't have to be the same. Maybe say 1700, 1750, something around, maybe even 1800. But I'm just going to move this closer, and then let me move this one even a bit closer. I don't want to spend too much time on this. Let me rotate this one just a little bit too, because you can see this one is kind of going off to this side. Let me rotate this one a bit. It's going to be quite difficult to get exactly the same thing, and ours going to be slightly different across the board. So if I check this, it's at 19. This is actually quite a lot, so I'm just going to move this a bit closer. And I'm just going to check, it's now at 1.8. So what you're going to do is bring them even closer, so that by the end you're going to have something that looks like this, and the width should be around 17 something, 1700 to 1800, something within that range. And then you're going to duplicate it. So once again, you're just going to reduce this. This is actually, I could, you know what, I could just do that. Let me just do that instead of just, no wonder if I'll be able to, okay, 1712. So I was able to get something that is close enough in width, but you see that the paw prints are a bit scattered. So just go ahead, like I think I could move this one to kind of look closer to this. I could move this one off to the side so it's going to be a tad difficult for me to exactly recreate this one, and yours may look a bit different, but that's fine. So what you're going to do now, these are multiple groups, and you see that they are overlapping. Once again, the overlap is not equal. So let me say I do something like this. This space is much larger, this is a bit smaller, this may be something like this. The goal is to make sure that once you are done, the height of the entire group, say this entire thing, should be greater than the home page. I already know that this one is greater than the home page, but just do it beside your home page and let the paw prints go from, let it even come out from the top. You see this part is outside the frame, and the goal is to create something that will go through the entire frame at the top and also cover part of the bottom as well. So just go ahead and create copies of the paw prints. Don't group the entire thing, just duplicate the groups, but don't group it. We'll group it individually because we're going to reuse it for all the pages, and as you can see, all the different pages have different heights. So we may have to, let me say for this one we may use only 4 groups, maybe in this one we'll use only 3 groups. So don't group the entire thing. When we want to use it, we'll duplicate it, group, and then bring it into the page, if that makes sense. So I'm going to delete this. You can go ahead and create yours, and then we can now come back and I'll show you how to bring this into your frame. So what I'm going to do is just move this out of the way. I'm also going to move this out of the way. I'm going to select all of these groups. I believe I have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 groups. I'm going to select all of them, create a copy, leave this one as individual groups, then group this new copy, go to dimensions and lock the aspect ratio. Now you can bring in this group into your frame, and I'm just going to move this around till I'm satisfied with its position. Let me say I'm just going to let's say like this. Once again, it's not going to be perfect across the board for everyone, but essentially just going for a certain look, if that makes sense. So final thing is use your left square bracket, or you could right click on the group. I've already sent it to the back, but you can just send to back, and that way you now have this paw print in the background. Let's now take a look at it, our web page in the prototype view, and I'm just going to load this. I'm going to give it a moment, and yeah, there we go. This is what our web page looks like with the paw prints in the background. And I'm just going to scroll down. We have our Instagram highlights, featured blogs, and finally we have our footer section. And yeah, that's it for this homepage, and as well the end of this part of our course. For the next part of our course, we're going to be working on the About Us page. You can check the description box below for the link to the course playlist or the other parts of this entire course. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next part.